Yeah. We're going with 43. Keep that up.
Call this meeting of the Agenda Board of Appeals to order. The date is 12/23/2024. The time is 5:34. In attendance, I'm myself, Kyle, Teddy, and Jake. We'll discuss 5 items today, and then I think we want to move agenda item number 5 to the first one, just to kind of help move the process along. So we'll start with agenda item number 5, which is Evan seeks a zoning interpretation relating to expanding upon a pre-existing non-conforming use by changing a 3-unit dwelling in a R2 district to a 4-unit dwelling.
You want to call a public hearing?
So we'll open a public meeting and kind of discuss any questions or topics I think you guys might have, and we can help discuss and answer. So normally a sign-in sheet or something.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Mr. Armstrong, do you want to have anything to say?
I don't know, how do we just come up here?
Yeah, I think
Let's
normally.
come up right there,
Yeah,
just as long as I can hear you.
Okay,
That's good.
this is Evan Susan, and as I understand it, as the mention, as your agenda mentioned it.
One of those, can I have one of those? I gave you like 5 of those things.
Yeah.
Mr. Armstrong, have one, please. But just give him one of those pieces of paper. He's got it. That's what you guys say.
Yeah. There we go.
So what they want your interpretation on is the last one. In my research, I found out that go down to B, the very bottom.
We'll read that off, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, read it off.
No non-conforming use may be extended into any building or lot or portions thereof not used for such uses on the day of the enactment of this chapter. However, a non-conforming use may be extended throughout any parts of the building or lot which were manifestly arranged or designed for such use at the time of the enactment of this chapter.
So it kind of contradicts itself. This was a multiple dwelling at the time of the enactment of the chapter. If you want to look at that paperwork, grab me that paperwork right there. Yeah, give it to me. You go. This chapter was enacted in 2003. And I went back as far as 96 and found it was a multifamily as far back as 1996 and probably before that. That's the farthest I could find back. So my interpretation is, and I would like you guys, and that's what these guys are here for, is that it was a multifamily. They haven't expanded the footprint of the building, haven't expanded the parking. They just took 1 unit and split it into 2. So my interpretation was, and these guys would like your interpretation as it as well. It was used as a multifamily. They're not increasing. They're increasing the units, but they're not increasing the non-conformity because it was already a multi-unit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's our reading, and I appreciate your work on that, Roy. The definition of multifamily is really 3 or more. So it's within that definition. And actually, and Evan could speak to that too, but apparently there are actually 2 kitchens upstairs and 2 bathrooms upstairs. So it's effectively set up for a unit. And they simply remove part of the stairway. So, and as Roy mentioned, there's nothing outside at all. I mean, you wouldn't know as far as appearance on the outside. And there's all kinds of parking. I don't know if you've seen it. We've got a copy of the survey to the place if you want to take a look. But there's plenty of room parking wise for that, so.
So the only thing is, they're gonna theoretically, just theoretically, because they've already got enough parking. Increase parking by by 1.5 spots because of the other units, so they have to go to site plan. Just as a formality, they've already got the room. But they have to go because, you know, they have to submit a parking plan. Other than that, though, it was a multifamily, it's still gonna be a multifamily, and based on. What I know of our new comprehensive plan that's coming out within the year, this will be allowed anyway. With our new comprehensive plan. So,
So to clarify, you're kind of in agreement with them of saying, you know, this zoning law here is worded as like, hey, they don't have to apply for a variance because they meet this. This is not like.
yeah,
saying
yeah,
that's what you're saying.
so again, so if they were, in my eyes, and this was my interpretation, and like I said, I want you guys' interpretation as well. My eyes is if they were adding on to the building, they're adding on to the non-conformity. Okay, this is just taking what's there and making more use out of it, and we need dwelling units in the city, there's no, you know, we have a housing shortage in the city. I just think finding creative ways we can add this without going too nuts with use variances and everything is the way we should be doing this.
Yeah, you're kind of saying that they meet the however part.
Yes,
Right,
that's
however,
exactly what I'm
A
saying.
non-conforming use may be extended throughout any parts of the building or lots which were manifestly arranged or designed for such use at the time of the enactment of this chapter. So it was, I guess, just to get it in word is in writing. For an example, you know, your place was built when? What was your time frame?
Ooh, I don't know.
Bill?
Or when was it adjusted for a 4 or 3?
They're currently. So the work's done.
Yeah, but I wanna know, like, originally done.
And when it was a 3. When it was,
See, they've only-
I went as far back as 96, and that's as far back as I have. And that chapter was enacted in 2003.
So in 96, it was allowed to be a 3.
Yes, well, no, in 96 was a pre-existing.
It was,
Non-conforming.
oh, it was voted through.
It never got a use variance, it's pre-existing, as far back, mine was a 3 unit,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying,
so it's pre-existing non-conforming, if it was always. If it was an allowable use, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But because it's pre-existing non-conforming. They're not supposed to be able to expand on non-conforming use. My argument is that however portion there was already multifamily. Well, whether it's 3 or 4, it's a multifamily. And it's not really impacting. And to be honest with you, it's not impacting the neighborhood either, because
However,
the majority of the houses in the neighborhood are multifamilies.
They just split one of the units into 2, right?
Yeah, just put one of the units in.
Yeah, it was, and Evan, you might speak to this, but there were 2 upstairs units, essentially. There were 2 there's 2 units downstairs. There were in effect, there was virtually almost 2 units upstairs. Go
Yes.
ahead.
So when we took over, this is like a big house. So it has 2 apartments on the left side, downstairs and upstairs. In the right side, it was literally looks like 2 apartments, but it had a staircase on the inside. It had a kitchen downstairs, a kitchen upstairs, a bathroom upstairs, a bathroom downstairs, but it was connected as one apartment. So all we did is we eliminated the staircase that was inside that side of the building. And what I was trying to explain to Don, we did not even create new entrances. When you walk into the entrance, the common entrance of the building, you walk into the common entrance, there's an apartment on the left side, there's a door on the right side, you go up the staircase, there's a door on the left side, a door on the right side. So the one side that we're talking about on the right side, it still had the original entryways from the main lobby. But somehow inside, maybe whoever owned it, how many years ago said, oh, maybe I'll take this whole side myself, and all he did is put a staircase on the inside. So what we did is, we didn't even split up new apartments, we just eliminated the inside staircase. And we started using the entrances from the main lobby. Those doors are pre-existing, we did not even open new entrances to the apartments.
So to some extent, it could have been actually a Ford unit at one time.
That's what we were.
I think that's what it's saying here.
Yeah, in 1996, it was a 3-unit and they asked to change it to a 4-family and they voted on that in 1996.
In 96, it was denied. But that law didn't get in that portion of this, that section didn't get enacted until 2003.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
So we're suggesting that what they've done fits into that language, the however language.
Again, keep in mind that that comprehensive plan that you guys are working on and everyone's working on, this adaptive reuse is gonna be the way of the future anyway. So, I mean, I even suggested doing a zone change because most of the neighborhoods are for anyway. I mean, if you go down that street, even though it's listed as an R2, I'd say 80% of the homes on Union Street are multi-residents. And a WeGo for that matter. So. It also, what I'm saying is also fits into the characteristic of the neighborhood.
Fits into the, however, I don't know about you guys, but it seems to me that would qualify.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're not changing the square footage of the
Not
lot,
anything out.
building.
So close the public hearing,
Okay.
or yes, no, you got any more questions?
Yeah, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, you wanna go through the questions?
So this is just a zoning interpretation, there's no questions?
Yeah, well, Andy has them here.
Yeah, I don't think there's questions, I don't think we're making a motion on anything.
There's no motion, so I gotta ask the questions. So your interpretation is the same as mine?
So yeah, I think we're in agreement with, so it's currently 3,
Currently
Yeah.
3,
right, which
trying to expand to 4.
it's always been a 3, right, based on this.
Yeah, it's always been a 3.
So, I mean, I would definitely agree that the 3 fits in with the however portion of that number item B, however, a non-conforming use may extend throughout any parts of the building. So I would agree there. Yeah, I would agree that falls under that portion of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think we'd have a different conversation if it was a 4-unit and maybe because they had denied it at that time, so.
Yeah.
With a 3-unit, I'd say I have no problem, it's always done that.
I think what we're looking for in the interpretation would allow us to file the site plan application as a 4-unit.
Yes,
That's what you're looking for interpretation of.
yeah, so you're gonna allow them to file building permit. Site plan application and area variance for the addition of a unit.
Well, would it be, Roy, without the need for an area? Okay.
Needs an area variance because
Area variance.
you're expanding the use, kinda, sorta.
Okay,
I just do this anyway, because that way we bring the lot into conformity. The only problem with the lot is the portion of the driveway is actually over the 4-foot vegetated strip onto the neighbor's.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, let's think about that again, so. technically, if anything goes from a 3 to a 4. Because we're talking about the existing nonconformities, so they denied it from a 3 to a 4 back then.
So I don't know
Wow.
whether that portion of that law was in effect back then. I just know that section, according to. That section was updated in 2003.
They could have added the B.
You said they could have
At
added
that time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, trying to understand it, if there was 3 and wanted to go to 6, is there kind of, what is?
Well, that's different because
What is
because then you got 3 to 6, you're actually expanding the footprint of the building because you wouldn't have the square footage.
No, technically, let's say if they didn't, like, if they could, just for hypothetical, trying to understand of what we're agreeing on of translating this, however portion, because, I mean, maybe it didn't make sense for me to say like, oh, if it was a 4 unit, maybe we might have this conversation, granted, it is an existing thing of 3. Which would be considered a non-conforming use. So it's still a non-conforming use if it's 4. And so. And it still will be able to extend. Throughout any parts of the building, basically, which is basically what that means.
Throughout the existing parts of the building.
Yeah, so which is that line right there, however, may extend, range, or design any parts of the building, so. That's kind of where I'm getting at. This is a 3, we're gonna change it to a 4. The 4 is still throughout any part of the building. It's kind of worded for that reason right there.
Yes.
It's literally worded for throughout the building, which I guess is basically throughout the building.
So you're not,
It's not added on, it's
Yeah.
not whatever, it's like.
and you're really not, even though you're gonna add a parking space and a half. For what's there, you're not, there are lots big enough for that. You're not really adding it, but you have to. Submit a parking plan to show that actually. Parking space and a half. Why it's a parking space and a half, I have no idea. That's what it is.
Except for like a subcompact or something like
Yeah,
that.
but wouldn't it make sense to say 2 parking spaces? Because a single family is 2 parking spaces, a 2-family is 4 parking spaces, a multifamily is 1.5 parking spaces per unit.
Well, I don't know if the language, I don't mean to
No, yeah.
split hairs on this,
Right.
but which were manifestly arranged or designed for such use, that maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not, but they didn't add a kitchen, they didn't add a bathroom. So those were there, so, I think the fact that there was already the capability for a 4th living unit might fit in that language
Yeah,
and
so
distinguish this situation from.
What are you
adult
guys doing
6.
to the building to make it a 4? If you were to apply for 4, what would you do to the building?
You put up a partition wall, right? Took out a set of
Took out a
stairs.
stairway.
Your staircase up.
It wasn't even, it was partitioned, right, for the 4th, it was that staircase that.
Yeah,
Upstairs, downstairs, right?
Yeah.
my understanding, again, I might be wrong, is at some point was a 4-family. I don't know if it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been a 4-family, like illegally.
Yeah, I think that's what happens.
But and then at some point, somebody maybe that owned it said, okay, I'll put a staircase and I'll have this whole side of the house. Again, I don't. know
Yeah,
the
it
answer.
might be a way around the 4-family, like, hey, it's actually technically only a 3-family, because these guys are living in the same place, but this door upstairs is always locked or something. I mean, I'm just trying to think of why it might have been done that way. But yeah, taking out that staircase is making it clear or whatever that it's for units.
They haven't added any bedrooms either, right? I mean, there's been it's the living area hasn't been expanded or.
Yeah, I guess with this interpretation, it's like, I don't have any issues of it, it's just the wording of. For the time frame of like stuff, it's basically saying like, hey, if this was a 4 unit before. This zone got put in, or this law got put into place, you know, it's finally being 4.
My opinion based on that is going from 3 to 4 should be pretty, it seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean, from basically. I think it's a case by case as far as it goes, yeah. Where any parts are designed or arranged at the time. So I guess that would be like a case to case. Conversation of like, when did that designed or arranged take place, and was it before? This law kind of went into, you know, that, from your case, from your argument, you know, I think that we'd have to relook at that. Of the individual, thing, if this is something that happens, you know, for other. Situations we might have is like based on, you know, when did that construction. Happen to a 4, is it before this or?
But then I also think you have to look at the overall characteristics of the neighborhoods too. And in that neighborhood, if you have 80% of the houses are already multiple residences.
Yeah.
It's mostly rental properties, not owner occupied. I believe the use, not only was it, you're based on that section right there, you're also really not affecting the characteristics of the neighborhood, could start use for that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so this no non-conforming use, it's a 3 right now, it's like zoned as a 3.
It's zoned as it's an R2,
Or it is in your, like, it's never been approved as a 4, how is it?
it's never been.
So
That's-
they need to apply anyways for a 4, that's what you're.
Yes, but I'm not gonna have them do any of that unless you guys, if you guys agree with me on this. Then we're gonna move forward with the site plan and everything.
Yeah, and I don't think I have an issue seeing, you know, a reason at this time to say no to a 4. Based on this code section right here.
And we'll limit it to that. No further expansion will be allowed.
Yeah. Right, within the building, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it says no, not conforming, but that's kind of why we're zoning board to say, yes, you can. We do that for same example as a vegetation strip, like, hey, you have to have a 4, you're allowed to have a 3.
Yeah. All right. You want to sign those? You guys already did your,
Yeah, I think there's just a. Interpretation.
yeah, that's it. So just sign those. Kyle, please.
Do we all sign it or is it?
You guys, just at the bottom, right? Is that my signature? It says chairman. I was gonna say chairman on there.
Oh, no, it says ZBA secretary.
Oh, that's me. Okay.
All right.
Good night.
I was gonna say,
You're right there. Sorry about that. All right, so. Based on what they just said. Building permit, area variance application and site plan application. You can only additionally add that 1 unit to make it a 4. Okay, and then you just signature there, and there.
yeah, I mean, I think it does say that.
Those are wonderful copies.
We're also easily allowed to say, you know what, yes.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hopefully I helped out.
Appreciate you coming here.
Thanks for spending your time on that.
Like
Welcome.
always said, these people.
Don, you want to take it or?
Very.
Yeah, that's an issue in the city.
Sounds like we can bump it
All
up.
right.
Thank you.
All right, yep.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, guys. Merry Christmas.
Tomorrow, is the office is closed tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
We're open Thursday and Friday.
Trying to look back to see if there's any information on why they
Why is tonight?
didn't approve it in the first place.
So probably should.
There's not much there.
Didn't see much.
Like I said, I had to do, I mean, I went back in forever and. All right, next,
Move to agenda item number one, the request for an area variance and a floodplain variance for a property located at 130 North Main Street. Request by Keith Van Gorder, which includes a list of pre-existing nonconformities and the development in a floodplain area.
Jacob,
Yes, sir.
you may or may not have a conflict with this. I have to ask you, do you knowing the applicant will it have any effect on you, on the way you vote on this decision?
It will not impact my decision.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Kevin.
All right, so we'll break it up into two motions. We'll make a motion for an area variance, we'll discuss, and then we'll make a motion for a development in a floodplain. So the applicant is requesting area variances for minimum lot size, minimum lot width, minimum front yard, 4-foot vegetation strip, 2 driveways, and then previous pervious driveway. So those are all the existing nonconformities that we will talk about, as in they want to add in a pool, the backyard in-ground pool. So to do that, they have to get these listed existing approved, which is kind of what we've been doing. A lot of projects now just listing off. Went through those.
So no one is present. You open and close the public hearing.
Anyone to speak, no one's here to speak, so close the public meeting. Do I have a motion to close?
So this is a case as far as the impervious driveway surface. This is a floodplain. So you can, as we have in the past, give a variance for the pervious surface.
Yeah, no, it kind of makes sense for a pervious surface to be in a floodplain. I guess it makes more sense than not.
So and that's the only case that we've decided that you can give a variance for.
Yeah, no, and I don't think we need to, we don't need to like give them a timeline to make it an impervious because it's in a floodplain, so fine with having it being stained gravel or whatever for the time being. Do you have a list of the questions? I don't have that. It's handy. Or did I find it? Is it in anything?
I do, this should be right on, if you go into one of those area variance applications, the second page should be question.
There you go. All right, we'll go through the questions. The following tasks will be considered by the zoning board of appeals to determine whether the variances in weighing in the granting or denial of the area variance request. Question 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in character of the neighborhood or determined to nearby properties were created by the granting of the area variance. So. What do we think? We think anything undesirable? No, in-ground pool?
Say so. I mean, I would, yeah. From my experience, I would say no.
I think there was a fence around this. You probably couldn't even tell that they did anything to it.
So, yeah, the backyard is fenced in and they had an above ground pool back there for 12, 15, some odd years.
All right, yeah, so no for that.
Basically just replacing the above ground with an in ground.
Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. No. So that, whether the requested area variance is substantial. Also say no, right? It's just, there's an existing above ground pool there and make it below ground. The substantial besides. Yeah. Whether proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environment and conditions in the neighborhood or district. So I mean, really, I guess we're just voting on the existing non-conformities there. So they're existing, and so it's definitely not gonna make it any worse. Yeah, no. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which considered shall be relevant to the decision of the board, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance. Self-created.
Maybe they're already there, weren't they? I mean,
Most of the time it's gonna be yes.
Just,
Yeah.
Just say yes for that. So 4 no's and yes.
They make a motion.
So, yeah, move or. Is there, may I have a motion regarding the area variance request for 130 North Main Street?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion has been made to approve. All of those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Granted. So go to the floodplain variance for that item. So again, so a floodplain variance, so the items kind of in question regarding like the floodplain would be, I think you highlighted, the utility, the construction materials and methods, utility equipment resistant to flood damage, or kind of above the floodplain, or some kind of question in relating to the equipment being, susceptible to flooding. I guess, Roy, kind of what are your thoughts on equipment being built in the flood zone?
So it's a pool, it's filled with water anyway. Any new fencing's gotta be,
So this could float away, right?
no, it's not,
It's not called.
it's in the ground.
Yeah.
Not gonna float away, it's just, so the reason why you gotta get any structure, and it's a structure. That's built. The problem is there's a portion of that property that's actually in the floodway. Not just a floodplain, it's in the floodway. So that's like the highest degree of. You're not supposed to build anything in a floodway without a floodplain variance. I would say this is one of the few things you can probably get away with building in a floodway, because it's just gonna fill up a little bit. If it's empty, it's gonna fill with water, it ain't floating away, it's not gonna cause a blockage down.
Right.
The water's just gonna, at the very least, fill it up and float down the water, so. If you're gonna put something in a floodway, this is probably the structure you want in the flood.
And then, so,
Was it ever even flooded back there, Jake? You can remember?
Not onto their property, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Had the neighbor's basement filled with water, ankle high, one time, yeah. But it's called Dry Creek for a reason. So,
is that what it's called?
yeah.
I mean, it's still gotta get. All the electrical's gotta be. GFI'd, it's a pool, it's gotta be GFI'd anyway.
So, yeah, the utilities,
Gotta be flood proof.
you highlighted it in yellow. Is that just saying that those utilities are going to meet what these zoning things are? Or you're highlighting in yellow saying like, hey, they're not gonna meet the zoning?
Yeah, I highlighted them in yellow because they have to be met.
They have to be met. So they're just not, I was just wondering if we're approving utilities that aren't gonna be met, or we're approving utilities.
So you're gonna this is what I would suggest you do is installation is to, FEMA has specific guidelines for pools in a floodplain. Installation has to be done to those FEMA guidelines.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just. Yeah, I was curious, yeah, it makes that clear of approving those. The same questions for a floodplain variance?
So the way Andy has it written here, those questions are used for both the variances.
Okay, yeah.
You just have to make another motion.
To approve.
Approve this.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
You make it with kind of the motion of utility being met
I'll make, okay,
to,
to have it be met to the FEMA standards.
yeah.
Approved as long as this meets FEMA standards.
So. Motion's been made to. Approve. Floodplain. Variance request for 130. With the stipulation that utility. Meets the FEMA regulation for building in a flood. Plain, do I have a second? Second. It's been seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Granted.
Give me 1 second.
Let's see that package.
I'll set if you want to move on.
Next, agenda item number 2, the request for an area variance at 230 Port Watson Street. The applicant Donaldson is seeking approval to add 2 5x8 LED signs on both street frontage facades. These requests involve pre-existing nonconformities and will be reviewed against our variance criteria. Anyone here to make comments? No. Make a motion to close. Have a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll discuss kind of information we can pull. Yeah.
So there's a list in there, all variances.
These, yeah, so some of the pre-existing nonconformities.
And the wall signs exceed the square footage.
So the existing, pre-existing area variances, minimum lot size. Lot width. Minimum front yard, maximum front yard, minimum side yard, minimum rear yard, maximum lot coverage. Square footage of signs exceeds the linear footage of street frontage per facade. Is that pre-existing? Is that what we're?
No, that's what triggered all.
Okay, so that one's not pre-existing. Okay. So number 8 is the 1 through 7 would be the pre-existing, and then the 8 is square footage of signs exceeds the linear frontage of street facades per facade. So River Street. Sign. 40 square foot facade equals 28 linear feet. For Watson, 40 square foot facade equals 39 square feet.
Well, the signs are the same size, the signs. Square footage of the sign cannot exceed the linear foot of the street frontage.
Yeah, so they're about, for the River Street sign, they're about, 10 square feet too big. And then For Port Watson, they're about 1 square foot too big, so maybe the Port Watson's one's not as important as the River Street sign.
But if you look, there's already signs there, but I don't know how big they are.
So it would be. So that's like River Street is 10 right now, plus the existing?
No, they're replacing what's there.
Oh, okay.
These are signs they actually ordered from the company.
Yes. Gotcha. So it's 10 right now, but it only might be 1 or 2 square feet bigger than what they currently have.
Yeah, I can't imagine being much bigger than they already have.
Gotcha.
From the county took a look at it because it's on 11. They didn't have any issues with it.
Assuming they provided, I didn't know what it was, but. Is there nice drawings of their signs or something?
Yeah, so it's Napa, and when you run a franchise business like that, you have to purchase all the stuff from Napa.
That we just dealt with. From the oil place, well. 5 by 8 cent here, 5 by 8 cent here. Corner shown above, 5 by 8. Okay. This sign.
What are you looking for?
Just a street sign, just a street view.
There should be one there. If you go all the way to the
Back there with the, yeah, that's the last few pages. Okay. Yeah. There.
Yes, I see, they want, basically on the corner, they want one on the
Yeah.
right side, one.
I mean, that doesn't seem like it'd be anything crazy. 5 by 5
Five by eight.
by 8.
The only thing I would do is what you've done with these in the past is make sure that put a stipulation in there that the signs have on and off switches.
Yeah, I mean, that's like code, right? That's code requirement.
It is, but you guys have done it just to be consistent with the way you guys have done things in the past. You don't want them to leave the signs on all night long.
Right. Yeah, we'll make it. Be known that they're only the only. Area variance regarding to the sign is the. Size. Allowance. All other
Or pre-existing non
in existing, all their codes will be laws will be that's. Yeah, so after reviewing the details of the variance request for 230 Port Wasser Street. I will now entertain them for a motion.
All motion.
Have
I'll second.
a motion and a second to what?
To approve.
To approve the area variance request for 230 Port Watson Street with stipulation of allowing, or with just allowing to allow all the pre-existing nonconformities and the signage square foot
As long as they keep it at that proposed
size.
40 side. 40 square foot, so it's.
Of 40 square foot.
We go through questions.
Great, not to go through the questions, so before we vote. Let's go through the questions. Question one, whether undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or determined to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance. Say no, based on the size and just, hardly over our allowable code. Agreed?
I agree.
No. Whether the benefit sought by applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Well, no, all the. Pretty much no, because all the pre-existing. Makes some have to apply for an area variance. So, no. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Say no, most of them are pre-existing, and the one that's not is again, barely over our allowable signage laws. Yeah. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. I'll say no, as there's a gas station right next door, kind of that area of signs and whatnot, so it's allowed use. Nothing there. Well, the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the board, but not shall necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance. Yeah, I would say yes, it is self-created, doesn't it? Didn't have to put a sign up. Okay, so 4 no's and a yes. We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next.
That's a simple one.
All right, agenda item number 3, the request for an area variance at 12 Henry Circle. The applicant Chelsea Schaff is seeking approval to replace an existing shed with a larger 10 by 16 shed. The request involves pre-existing nonconformities and will be reviewed by the board. Anyone here to speak? No. Okay, so we'll close the public meeting. A motion?
I'll make the motion. Close.
A second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll review the documents. Any comments? Roy? Statements? Anything?
She's replaced an existing shed. That was taken down by that windstorm we had.
Oh, well,
The whole area got pretty devastated over there.
Trees down over there. And lower.
So if you look at anything in the red is non-conformities. Did I list it or did I just make it map?
I was gonna ask you. if you-
Lot size.
Yes. Yeah, we got some yellows. We got minimum lot size. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's an easy one. There we go. So minimum lot size is the only pre-existing, everything else.
So, because the original shed would have been an issue, but they're moving that one at least 4 feet off the line.
Conform,
Okay.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, simple. Those are the questions. 1, whether undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or determined to nearby properties will be created by granting of the area variance. Simple no. Whether the benefit sought by applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for applicant to pursue other than the area variance. So no, it's just pre-existing. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, nope. Minor pre-existing. Whether proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environment conditions in the neighborhood or districts. Nope, it's existing. whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the board, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance.
So normally I would say this would be yes, but since her other shed was destroyed by the storm, I think that's pretty much an act of God. It's not really her fault.
So yeah, I guess you're right. She wants to put a shed up. A shed.
Gotta replace it.
It wasn't really self-created, it was Mother Nature. Right. So no.
Makes sense.
Okay, now we've discussed. Have a motion regarding approval or denial.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's been a motion to approve and seconded to approve the variance request for 12 Harmony Circle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Yeah, agenda item number 4, the request for an area variance at 2 Water Street. The applicant Dwayne Randall seeks approval to add a 12 by 16 deck to the rear of the dwelling. This request involves pre-existing nonconformities, and we will evaluate it. Anyone here to speak? No. Have a motion to close public hearing.
Motion close.
Seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Review the documents. So pre-existing items include minimum lot size and land use.
And usually,
I'm just trying to see all accessory structures, 4 feet, 3.53. So it's sheds and detached garages are only allowed in rear yards and must be set back at least 4 feet. So that's in yellow of. That's an existing non-conformity, yes?
Yes.
3.3, got it, there you go.
so yes,
And then 4-foot vegetation strip. Okay, so is that all we got of the pre-existing non-conformities, everything? So so I guess one might be adjusted here again, that's really affected would be the minimum lot size, or no, not even that, the minimum lot coverage, that is fine,
yeah,
yeah. Because, yeah, adding of a new deck would basically,
it increases, but it doesn't get it over the 60%.
so there we go, that's consideration. Yeah, I would say then everything else that's pre-existing is not affected by the new deck. We want 16 off the back. And then I start driveway and
It's a driveway.
yeah. Simple. Okay, easy. Let's go through the questions. So let's go to number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or current to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance. So no, they're all pre-existing already. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Nope. Whether the request of area variance is substantial, no, kind of all pre-existing. Minor ones, whether the proposed variance will have adverse effect or impact on the physical environment conditions in the neighborhood or district. Nope, they're all pre-existing, so it won't be affecting anything at all. whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which considered shall be relevant to the decision of the board. But not necessarily preclude the granting of the variance. So say yes, they just didn't have to have a deck, but it's not fine. So 4 no's and a yes. We have a motion regarding the approval or denial for 2 Water Streets.
I'll make the motion to approve. I'll second it.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll approve the area variance. Right, so other items, we guess we'll vote or approve the minutes from last meeting. Just one item. Area variance approved for 17 Salisbury Street. Have a motion to approve,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
So you approve the minutes?
approved.
Who made the motion?
Aye.
Seconded by
Me.
Teddy, and you all said, okay. Okay. Adjourn? Yes.
Adjourn,
Yes.
We have to make a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn. I didn't-
All right, don't need a second for that.
Interesting. All right, we survived.
Perfect. Nice.
Good job, guys.
Well, Kyle, that's you. Yeah, it's just an hour. Not bad.
The biggest thing was that.
Interpretation. Yeah, I think we have to just kind of. It leaves us to,
Hold on, let me get this done. Let's shut this off, we'll start having conversations.
yes, you.